Hey guys, and welcome to Insurance Town. I'm the Mayor Heath Shearon and the host of this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with you having so yes, so if you want to turn this off right now, go to your other favorite podcast. If you want to hang out with me for a few minutes, just about something that's near and dear to my heart, and something that is actually timely for me right now. Is I'm entering into probably my busiest time of the year with conferences and speaking events and national events for PIA with my wife. And I love attending events. I love going to conferences, and I love all that has to do with that. And so I wanted to get into some of that with you today. And before I do, I can't do the show without talking to you about my friends, my sponsors and supporters of the show, supporters of you, the insurance industry, and that's Smart Choice, Canopy Connect, and Old School Marketing. All three are here to make your agency better, to help you with different aspects, whether it's marketing, whether it's onboarding clients and prospects, or if it's just making your agency better by adding contracts, adding markets, adding value to your agency. All three of these partners are so good at that. Smart Choice helps you not only get access to markets, not only helps you with higher commissions and not only some of those things, but also so many other things. Go to smartchoiceagents.com. They have over 10,000 agencies across the country. They have $11 billion in premium. I mean, that's a lot of weight to throw around. That's a lot of experience. That's a lot of agencies that you can connect with, that you can network with. They're the fastest growing agency network for a reason, y'all. I said y'all. Also, Canopy Connect, good friend in Tolga, my brother from another mother. You gotta check them out. If you have not reached out to Canopy Connect, you've got to. It is just absolute game changer. Whether you're personal lines or commercial, whether you're using it for referral partners or for your own team, you cannot miss the opportunity to work with them. Go to usecanopy.com/Heath and get a discount, get your demo, tell them I sent you. You'll get so much more value out of working with them than you could ever imagine. Usecanopy.com/Heath. Also, Old School Marketing does digital marketing, and they do direct mail pieces with handwritten envelopes, handwritten notes, and not a font. This is actual people on staff to handwrite your notes. And it makes people want to open. Yeah, they have a higher read rate, or open rate, I should say. They get some phenomenal results, and there's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of agencies across the country that are using Old School Marketing right now. If that's not you, go check it out. Oldschoolmarketing.com. That's OLDE, schoolmarketing.com. Or you can go down to the show notes and check out the link that I put in there. Now, again, as I talked to you earlier, I just want to spend some time, just you and me, talking, nobody else, just us, about conferences. And if you're coming up on conference season, or if you've been going to conferences, or if you've got some coming up in the next 6 to 8 months or a year, I just want to talk to you just about just some tips and strategies on how to do that the right way. And I talked about this maybe a few years ago, but I wanted to talk to you post-pandemic and just talk to you about 2024 about it, 2023, and beyond, 2025 even, just getting into what that looks like now. And some of these are old school principles that I've been using for years that just work. And some of them work just because they just do, and some of them, it depends on your personality. So check this out. Let me know what you think. So first of all, before you even go to the conference, once you decide the conferences you're going to go to or you feel like are important, I think doing some due diligence makes a good point. Like even going back to deciding which conferences to go to, I think it's important to find out not every conference is the same. Some of the conferences are built for helping you network and helping you to get in front of other your peers and getting in front of different vendors, whether it's through a trade fair opportunity or networking events, things like that. Usually state associations are really good at those types of things and networking and getting you involved in some of those things. And some events you may go to are strictly mastermind events where they're just going and you're sitting elbow to elbow with your peers, and you're sharing information, and you're getting stuff out of it. That way, you're taking a lot of notes, and you're deep into all day long in sessions, and you don't have a whole lot of time to even breathe in some of those, which is great for some people because they want to get in, learn as much as they can, and get out. Some people like the networking events where you have some time in between, you have some free time in the evenings. You just get a lot of time to really build those relationships. And then there's other events that are golf events, or they might be an outing, or they might be just a vendor fair, and that's it, or a trade fair. What do you want to call it? So again, figure out what those are first and know what you're getting into before you go. That way you can game plan your strategy. Now, for all intents and purposes, most of the events that you and I probably go to fall in one of the two buckets. If it's a conference of the first two things that we talked about, whether it's purely educational and you're going for CE classes, or you're going for a mastermind, or you're going to learn a lot. I think the networking for those is a completely different situation, and it's really maximizing the short windows that you do have in between sessions and in between the times, and maybe taking advantage of some of the evening opportunities when you can have some dinners and drinks, things like that. But again, I think you have to go in with that mindset and go in with intentionality and with some planning involved. And then, secondly, if you're going to just a state association conference or something to that effect, where there's your typical, you got your golf tournament, you got your networking events, you got your keynote speaker and some of those sessions, maybe a breakout room or two. You've got your vendor, trade fair, your vendor hall, and then maybe you have some opportunities in the evenings and stuff for drinks and gathers and hot, just some hanging out, whether that happy hours, things like that. I think that, again, go in with the mindset of what that is, and go in thinking, okay, if I know I'm going to have this time to network, if I know that there's going to be this downtime in between, things like that, call the state association, call the people who run the event, and see if you can get an attendee list. See if you can pick their brains. If they won't give you an attendee list, maybe if you have some people in mind that you want to visit with, maybe you're an agency going to one of the state conferences, and maybe you call and they won't give you an attendee list, but maybe you're looking for a specific carrier you're wanting to get, or a specific vendor. You might say, hey, do you know if this vendor is going to be there and who they're bringing? They'll probably more than likely share that information with you if they won't give you a full list. Or maybe you have a group of things, or maybe you say, hey, I'm looking for a good piece of technology to help me with my onboarding of clients, or I'm looking to shore up this part of my customer experience, or maybe I need a market for hard-to-place risks in this arena or that arena. Maybe you want to venture into trucking or restaurants or construction. Have that conversation with whoever's running the conference and say, hey, can you help me in this area? And I'm sure they could be able to point you in the right direction and maybe give you some contact info, maybe at least give you a name. And that's where the fun part comes in. So if you get the list, that's number one. That's gold right there. Then you can start connecting on LinkedIn with them. You can start doing your research, do a little stalking, maybe see, on their Facebook, maybe see if they've got a family, maybe you see hobbies and interests, maybe not doing it too creepy, but maybe you can look through there and find out some of those things that they like and they want to, talk about more. And that just kind of sets you up. Make some notes there, get prepared for some of that. Have, a list of 4 or 5, a short list, so to speak, of people that you really want to talk to. And really do some digging. It's a beautiful thing about social media. It's all public, and they put their highlight reels out there for you to look through, and they want you to know these things. So learn those things, and maybe learn some personal things about them too, not just professional things. So maybe, 2 or 3 things you learn about them are work related, and, you could talk to them about some of that. And maybe some of those things are, how did little Timmy's soccer tournament go? Or how did little Sally's, softball tournament go, or ballet recital, or piano, whatever. I don't know. Just, kind of think about those things. Or maybe it's like, hey, I saw you went on vacation to Spain last month. How'd that go? Whatever it might be. Just be prepared. Walk in with some of that. Do a little bit of research. Don't be afraid to stalk, so to speak. I think the LinkedIn profiles is a huge part of it, and really dig into their history. Maybe look at some common connections y'all may have, And maybe you could reach out to someone they have a connection with and say, hey, do you mind introducing me to so-and-so? Maybe a really good friend of yours is a first degree, friend with them, or a connection, so to speak, or maybe their second connection. And you could say, hey, do you know such and such? And maybe they can introduce you. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you go in there and you connect with them personally. You go ahead and click the connect button and maybe send a message. Hey, we're going to the same conference next week. I'd love to get together, buy you a beer. Or I'd love to, pick your brain. Or I'd love to have coffee with you, whatever it might be. Reach out ahead of time. Like I said, whether it's through LinkedIn, whether it's, if you get the list, you could email them ahead of time. I think it's always good. I always love going to conferences when I already have several appointments, or not appointments, but lined out meetings, so to speak. Maybe it's I'm meeting, Jane Doe at this time, or I'm meeting John Doe at this time, and then I've got this, and then I got some flexibility within there too. And then, even make it open, like when you get there, hey, if you want to bring some of your friends around, or if you want to get together with a group of us, so it's not so weird, you might be able to just do it that way and make it seem real casual. Maybe invite several people. If you are a vendor going, maybe invite several agencies ahead of time. Or if you're an agent going to an event, maybe you find somebody, whether it's the marketing rep or the rep for the tech company or the vendor that you're reaching out to, and say, hey, if you've got anybody else coming from your company, I'd love for them to join us as well. And, let's get to know each other's talk, or let's meet in between this session, or, maybe we could meet in the lobby for, coffee or whatever it might be. And if you want to invite some other people, it just expands your reach with that company. It helps you to get to know them a little bit more there too. So I think that's really cool. And that's just before you even go. You ain't even gotten to the conference yet, and I'm already putting you to work. So, put that work in. Don't be afraid to roll up your sleeves and get after it. I think the other thing you should do is, figure out why they're going. Why are you going? What type of event is it? All those kind of things. Kind of going back to the things I talked about earlier. Again, not every event is built the same. So maybe you look at that, depending on the event, and figure out maybe why they're going. And maybe you can help them. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. But really assess that before you get there, why you're going and what the purpose is. Because if you don't have a purpose of going, then I think you're going to end up walking away with that just a waste of money, especially if you're an agency owner, or if you work for an agency. That's usually coming out of your own pocket or your agency owner's pocket. So you want to make sure you get the most out of that. So if you're going just to shake hands, kiss babies, have a few beers, and hang out, I don't know if that's the best opportunity for you anymore. But if you're going with the purpose of getting a new market, or picking up a new piece of tech, or learning about this or that because of the list of keynote speakers, whatever it might be, do that. And that's another thing. It's really easy to find out ahead of time at an event who's going to be the keynote, right? Look at who's going to be the keynote. If it's somebody within the industry, connect with them as well and be like, hey, I'd love to buy you a drink. I'd love to have some coffee with you. I'd love to take you to lunch or dinner, breakfast, maybe in the lobby, something like that, and sit down with that keynote speaker. Pick their brain a little bit. They're usually, especially if they're in the industry, man, they probably can really hit you with a lot of good knowledge. You can probably learn a lot from them, do a whole lot of that kind of stuff. So, that's not a bad idea either, to reach out to those type of people. Now, once you get there, I don't think it's a bad idea once you get there to go find whoever's running the event and ask them if you can help out. Ask if you can, volunteer a little bit and help out, whether it's at registration table or hauling stuff or doing something out like that. I think that's also a fun way of doing things. So, yeah, jump in there and see if you can get to work. Again, add value to the conference. It doesn't have to be like a big, long thing or whatever, but, maybe you could offer to help carry some things around, or maybe you could offer to work at the registration table, or maybe you can offer to, do something after the event, whatever it might be. See if you can make yourself of value to them. I think that's always a positive, if that's your type of personality. Also, when you get there and you attend the certain events and you start meeting people and you start doing things like that, find a way that works for you to take notes and show that you're interested. Whether it's take notes on their business card, or take out your phone and take notes in the phone, in the notes section of your phone, something like that. But let them know. So don't just be rude and be looking at your phone. They might think you're texting. But if you'll just say, hey, do you mind if I just take a few notes on my phone real quick? I just want to make sure I don't forget this. And you can even mumble it out loud if you want to that you're typing, whatever it is. Oh, your name is Jane Doe, you're from here. I don't care how you do it. I'm always of the impression to be more open, honest, and transparent with things. And so be open, be transparent about what you're doing. Let them know you're taking notes. Let them know you're interested in what they're talking about, especially if it's one of those people on your short list that you want to get to know. Or if you've got a business card or a phone, or if you've got a good memory. I'll tell you it this way. If you don't want to do it the way I just said, if you don't want to feel awkward or weird taking notes in front of them, then maybe after you walk away from the conversation, while it's still fresh on your brain, pull out your phone and take a few notes written down there. I think that may work better for some people. If you don't want to make it look awkward or weird, just pull out your phone as soon as you walk away from them and be like, okay, that was Jane Doe. She works at this company, or that was John Doe, works at this company. And they like this or that, and we're going to meet this time tomorrow or next week, or call them next month because they're out of town, whatever it might be. Take those notes because I guarantee you when you get home from these conferences, you've met 100 people, you've been to all kinds of events, you're worn out, you're not going to remember. So make sure you do it right then and there if you can. I have a terrible memory, so I have to do it right then and there. Even if at worst case scenario, you do it at night, or whatever, while it's fresh in your brain before you go to bed, write down a few notes. Just be intentional and make sure you get that stuff. So again, you're not wasting your time, wasting your money, and wasting your effort. I think it's super important. And I've gotten so much out of conferences, and I've built my entire career on networking and whatnot because of some of these things that I've done. I promise you they'll work. If you disagree with me, I'd love to hear from you. Heath at insurancetownpodcast.com, or hit me on my DMs on LinkedIn, whatever you want to do. I'd love to hear if you have some other ideas or strategies that I don't do. I think you need to listen, talk less, ask questions, be curious when you're at these events. It always be looking to add value back to them. And we'll get into some of that again here in a minute, but really work on, taking real interest, especially if they're on your short list and you have that time to sit with them. Don't be distracted looking around, talking to other people. That's why I say ahead of time, try to schedule some of these appointments or try to find some intentional time, because if you're like me and you have ADHD and you have these squirrel moments, it's hard, right? Hard things are hard, for me, and that's, paying attention. And so if I'm sitting there, especially if I had my medicine, my Ritalin or whatever, I'm going to be all over the place. But if I'm sitting there talking to somebody, it's going to be really easy for someone to tap me on the shoulder, hey, Heath, what's going on? Or I'm going to see somebody at the corner of my eye that I'm going to want to talk to, or somebody's going to point me out or high-five me on the way, and I'm going to be distracted. So, be curious, find that intentional time, and take those notes. But yeah, listen carefully. When people are talking to you, make sure you're in a position where you really can listen and really give them that time. And if someone comes up to you and is trying to talk to you or high-five you or whatever, you might say, hey, let me finish this conversation with Jim or Billy or Tommy or Sally or whoever, and then I'll be right there. Or can we hook up here in a little bit? Let me finish this conversation. It's important to me. So that way the person you're talking to knows how important they are to you, and the person you're talking to can respect that because they want the same thing from you, right? I just think it's crucial. So make sure you listen more, talk less, ask questions, be curious. I think on that same vein, definitely talk less, but before you get there, work on your elevator pitch. Everybody has one. Some are good, some are bad, but really make sure you practice that, work on it, get that concise, 90 seconds at the most. Really make sure you can get that out, and make sure at the end of that, there's some sort of hook or some sort of CTA at the end. I am Heath Shearon. I'm with the Insurance Town Podcast, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end, you say something to the effect of, if you want to check out my podcast, I'd love for you to check it out. Go to insurancetownpodcast.com. Or, have a hook at the end of, hey, do you listen to podcasts? Check out my podcast on Apple or Spotify. Or where do you go to listen to podcasts? Something like that. If it's an agency, hey, have an elevator pitch for your agency for carriers, to be able to say, hey, I'm Heath Shearon at the Insurance Town Agency. We really specialize in providing value to contractors, specifically HVAC or plumbing service contractors. I would love to work with your carrier or your, tech vendor XYZ with your company to help me to shore up this process or to help me to write more business here. I have a pipeline of 200,000 in premium that I'd love to give to you, or I've got this process I need to shore up. I'd love to meet with you at this time. Whatever it might be, get that elevator pitch down tight so you don't have to waste a lot of time talking about and whatever. Because again, just like I talked about earlier with you, you're going to be distracted. You're going to have a lot of stuff going on. The person you're talking to is probably the same way. And if you go rambling on and on and on and on and on about what you do, you're going to lose their interest. They're going to get distracted, and it's going to be a whole sitch. So you don't want that. Get that nice and tight and get that elevator pitch set to go. And again, carriers have an elevator pitch for maybe agencies you want to work with. Tech vendors have an elevator pitch for whoever your ideal client is. Figure out what that is, wherever you are in the industry. Figure out what your ideal client is and develop your pitch for that ideal client. And then I would also say, on the flip side of that, have a pitch for, in a situation where you may not want to work with somebody. So you can have a polite way of talking about, say, hey, I appreciate you asking. We're really at maximum capacity, or we're at this or that, or, we're really not in a place to add agents right now. Be real honest. We're really at a place where we don't, want to add any new carriers right now. We're not looking to add any more vendors. Our tech stack is pretty solid right now, whatever it might be. But make sure you have that lined up so you're not coming across like a jerk or and on or leading somebody on, because they may be able to connect with somebody else if you kind of let them off the hook easy. I hope that makes sense on that. I think that's something people don't think about, is having a backup elevator pitch on the other way around on that. So think about that a little bit and having that kind of pitch to let people down easy and let them know, honestly, I'm not looking to add any carriers right now, but I would love to keep your information for later on. Or, we're at a moratorium right now. We're not writing new business, but I'd love to take your agency card for a later on if we do open back up, or, whatever it might be. I hope I didn't beat that dead horse a little bit, but I think it's super important. And it's worked so well for me throughout my career. Also, when I go back to that, as you go through your elevator pitch, you're listening, you're asking questions. One of the key things I will tell you, this is the mayor's tip of the day on this, I would say, is ask about both wins and losses. When you're talking to somebody, just ask about their highlight reel. Everybody can tell you their highlight reel. What are you best at? What's your appetite? What do you like to write? Or what's, some key features of your tech that's amazing, or, whatever. Ask about that. Hey, what are some challenges that you faced last year? What are some things that you've really had a tough time with? And how did you guys overcome that? And then just be quiet and let them talk. I think that's huge. To be able to talk to them, ask them the wins, but also ask them their losses, ask them their challenges, ask them some of the things, some of the road bumps, bumpy road bumps. Is that the right word? Ask them for those bumps in the road that you might run into as a client of theirs. Ask them about some of the road mapping, or where they see themselves, at the end of the year, or how they're going to enter in 2025. All that kind of stuff. Be prepared to ask them any of those kind of questions. The last couple of things before I wrap up, because I wanted to make this a short one, and I'm already at, the time I wanted to be at. Always, 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 always. If you listen to one of my episodes, you've heard this. If you've listened to many, you've heard this. Always add more value than you take. Give more than you receive. Always make sure that is utmost importance to you. And if you go into these conferences looking to give more, add more value, listen more, talk less, I think you're going to come out on the other side of that. If you're scheduling a meeting, try to schedule a meeting to where it's beneficial for both of you, not just for you to pick their brain about this or that, but also look for ways maybe you can connect them with other agents, or maybe you can connect them with other carriers, or maybe you can connect them with this friend or that friend. Again, look to add that value. When you're sitting down talking to them, maybe you could, give them some pointers. Maybe you can give them some advice. Maybe you can, ask them, hey, what can we do in this meeting to help add value to you? What are some things that I can bring to the table for you as well? Not just about you getting what you need, but also look to add value to them. Again, starting off by bringing value to the conference. People who run the conference say, hey, what can I do to help you make your event better this week? Is there anything I can do to help you? I'm sure there's always something. My wife runs the PIA of Arkansas, and I've helped her run events for 17 years. there's always volunteer jobs that they could help with, that they could use help with. And if not that conference, maybe for the next time. I just think it's always best to add more value than you take. I know I talked fast through this because I wanted to make this a short episode. I hope that it helped you. I hope some of the things we talked about were good. I could do a whole podcast on the post event. But again, on post event, you've got about a 2-week window. You've got to follow up. You've got to get back to those people, whether they're leads or prospects. Otherwise, they go cold. So I would say when you come back from the conference, have a game plan before you even go to say, okay, on this day, I'm blocking off my entire day to follow up, to make those phone calls, to send those emails, to introduce those people, to do whatever that is. Make sure that happens post-conference too. Just a little short thing there. Have a game plan going in, have a game plan while you're there, and then have a game plan on your exit strategy when you get home. Guys, I hope this podcast was helpful to you. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks for being a listener. Thanks for downloads. Thanks for everything. I can't wait for 2025. We've got a lot of really cool stuff coming up. I can't wait for the fourth quarter of this one. I've already got some guests lined out that you are going to just freak out over, and you're going to really enjoy. Get a pen and paper ready. Take some notes. It's going to be phenomenal. I cannot wait. Guys, again, thank you so much. Do me a favor and go rate the show. Go download as many podcast episodes as you can. Go give me a 5-star review on any platform that you're on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it is that you listen on. Give me that review. Give me that thumbs up. Write something down. Let me know who you are. I would love to hear from you. Just, hey, I love this podcast. It was great. And then put your name in there. Don't be anonymous. Go ahead and tell me who you are. I love getting those. And then send me an email. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Guys, I'm going to get out of here just because I don't want to take too much of your time. Stay tuned next week. I got a great episode lined up for you already. 2 weeks from now, I've got another great one lined up. If you want to be a guest on the show, if you know a good guest, reach out to me as well. Thanks again, guys. I look forward to hanging out with you again next week.
All right.